met Benita Vergatini. Smile 90.4 FM.
Joining us this evening to elaborate on a bold new campaign which is set to challenge the prevalence of online misogyny as we work towards mobilizing young men building safer digital spaces is the founder and executive creative director at Ironheart, Toni Lee Shaman. Toni, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Toni, what inspired the Bold or Break campaign and why focus on young men in the country's digital landscape?
So we were approached last year by our research partners, the Center for Analytics and Behavioral Change. They were working on a project, an initiative by UNESCO, Social Media for Peace, which aims to promote peace building on social media. And so we were charged with creating the content for the campaign. And it's such a huge problem that how do you tackle it? So that's where the Bold or Break idea came from.
When you say such a huge problem, are you able to give us a sense of just the scale of what we are confronting?
So I don't know if there's actual figures, but the figures for gender-based violence is 1 in 3 women report having experienced gender-based violence in their lives. So we know that this is translating into online spaces. And it's a huge problem globally. South Africa is not exempt. And unfortunately, the social media platforms' algorithms actually push hateful, violent content. And that's because they're not biased towards hate. They just push or serve content that gets engagement. And human behavior, we interact with this kind of content, and it's kind of bringing out our worst instincts. Barack Obama actually spoke about it in a speech. So it's really up to us to kind of filter ourselves, stop before and think before we share, comment, and engage.
In terms of building the content, when you create the campaign around online hate or as been described, the technology-facilitated gender-based violence, how do you avoid sounding preachy or punitive and get young men to engage?
Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge is we don't want to be shaming people. We want to come from a perspective of understanding and empathy, because a lot of people do this and it's not like they're bad people. They're just engaging and they're in the zone. They've been death scrolling, or they're, acting within a space that is promoting this. So we created this song with in collaboration with the Orange Farm rapper Extreme Akayeni. He's up and coming. If you haven't heard of him, please go Google him or YouTube him. He's fantastic. And he is the age that we're targeting. He's 21 years old. He's in the activism space. And so we co-wrote the lyrics with him. We worked with him on our strategy and our insight, which is all kind of academic, although it's creative. It's a creative strategy as well. But he was able to create this song, this music track that really says everything that you can't say, in any other way. Music just has that power.
Is that one of the reasons why you chose music as a vehicle to possibly shift perspectives, shift conversation, and ultimately to shift behavior?
It's exactly the reason why. Yes, it's just so powerful. It moves people. It has an unarguable message in it. And like I said, Extreme is just so talented, and he is so sincere in his belief for fighting for justice, and he's worked on anti-corruption tracks before. So he's in this space already, and he was just the absolute natural choice.
joining us in conversation, elaborating on a new campaign aimed at the growing wave of online hate, Build or Break. Joining us in conversation to elaborate on the campaign is founder and executive creative director at Ironheart, Toni Lee Shaman. You're welcome to join us and to share your thoughts too on 0829 904 904. That emerging artist, Extreme Makayeni, rapper, songwriter, musician from Orange Farm, as Toni had recommended, certainly worthwhile getting hold of the track, as she had mentioned, speaking directly to men in a voice that feels real, relatable, challenging toxic behavior from within youth culture itself. And how do campaigns like Build or Break, Toni, compete with influencers who may be promoting harmful ideas about masculinity?
Well, that's a very tricky question to answer. I'm not sure if we can. We really are appealing to people's better angels, which is a quote of Barack Obama, to stop and think, and to also just practice this behavior of respect and integrity. Because at the moment, this definition of success and masculinity is being also monetized and rewarded by social media platforms. And because a lot of vulnerable men engage, this content spreads. We saw this from the Louis Theroux documentary, The Manosphere. And a lot of the time, these influencers aren't even doing it because they believe in it. They're doing it for the financial reward, which is a whole different conversation and problem on its own. And the algorithms, not even the people who created them know how they really work. We saw this from the social media documentary. So it's a tricky one. We're trying to fight culture with culture, trying to infiltrate or rewire the algorithm with positive content rather than preachy, finger-wagging, shaming content.
And I suppose that adds to the complexity of it, Toni, because you're competing against an algorithm. Then there are those actors who, in fact, are advocating that algorithm purely for financial gain. Yet the social consequences are dire, and we've seen that play out in the development of women and children.
Yes, exactly. And that's why in our lyrics and our messaging, we ask, either you build or you break. And if you choose to build, you're building a positive legacy for yourself. You're building your own success and positive communities, or you can choose to break, where you can break your own reputation. Everything stays online. You can break another person's self-esteem. You can break communities, and it's just totally destructive. Initially, we also came from the insight that a lot of so-called successful people are not so successful once their violent natures are exposed. And we know these people. I don't even have to mention any names. Names will already pop into people's heads. And so we're trying to just pose this question to young men: will you build or will you break? And it's a choice sometimes made in a split second, whether you share that post or you make a trolling comment, or you post a exploitative image online.
Does the campaign also link to the offline consequences, the real world consequences for the destructive online behavior, for example, the emotional or reputational damage that may be caused by harassment and image-based abuse?
Yeah, so I think that's where Extreme's lyrics speak volumes. And he says, you better watch what you say, it's going to live forever. And we all know we're being watched anyway. Our data isn't safe. So we're even more vulnerable when we act in these harmful, negative ways that can damage our reputations for life and sometimes can't be undone. Your reputation is everything. And that goes back to the root of the idea, which is redefining success and building a legacy, creating safer spaces online.
Do you think enough has been done or more can be done, particularly at a school level? Research seems to support the need for healthy online behavior to be a part of a curriculum of sorts.
Yeah, I think that's very needed in South Africa. I'm not really sure. I can't comment whether enough is being done at a policy level. I do personally like the stance that Australia took. I think you have to be over 16 to be on social media. Unfortunately, the men being targeted are still over 16. So yes, I think digital literacy taught in schools is important. I think Finland has such curriculum, and in a country like ours, where there's so many socio-economic factors that affect gender-based violence and also just men's mental health, I think at the root of it is also we have to look at men and have an empathetic stance on this as well, not just just see them, all men are perpetrators, and I think we have to intervene and intercept at a younger age. So yeah, I agree with that.
What does meaningful accountability look like, in fact, for young men navigating these digital spaces, do you think, Toni?
Oh, that is a hard question. I think what has just happened in the United States, where Mark Zuckerberg and the Google CEO have just been found guilty for allowing exploitation of sexual content and the exploitation of children on these digital platforms. I think that's a step in the right direction. Does that impact what is happening here locally? I don't know. It's a little bit terrifying, I think, for people who have young boys who are impressionable. And that's why with the song, I have to go back to the song every time. The song is not speaking to them, but including them in the conversation. And that's why it was so important for us to have a peer-to-peer perspective with Extreme.
Just remind us where one can get the song, Toni.
You might find it on Facebook. You can probably YouTube it under Bold or Break, Extreme Makayeni. If you follow Extreme Makayeni on Facebook, you will definitely see the video. If you follow the Center for Analytics and Behavioral Change, their peer support network Facebook page is called He KZA, and the video is on there. There's also the website page that you can go view that has support for men and women. So whether you're a perpetrator, an ally, or a victim, there is help for you. And that is on hekza.coza. And it's /SM4P, and the 4 is a numeral, /.
Toni, lastly, what steps do you feel that we can take to help build and create safer, more respectful online spaces?
I think it's really important for parents to have open conversations with their children, with young boys, and for other men, other young men, older men, maybe their mentors, to have very honest conversations and to not feel afraid to stand up and speak out against hateful comments, hateful content, misogyny and violence, and to stop building into the culture that success is actually about building, not breaking, just like the song says.
And as Toni had mentioned, all of the information, a great way to also support the resources to get hold of the song released by Extreme Makayeni. Have a look at hekza.co.za and support Build or Break. Founder and Executive Creative Director at Ironheart, Toni Lee Shaman. Toni, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Ryan's Bring the Noise. It's Ryan's 50,000 Rand Noise.